This is Kyle Bossman. He worked for Game Trailers and Easy Allies, he created shows such as The Final Bossman and Boxpeak, but you probably know him as the guy that shows up at the start of E3 and has chat spamming abuse because he's being shown instead of a Bloodborne remake.
What the hell is wrong with you people?
Well, every year he hosts a pretty unique game jam that I always intend to take part in, but somehow it always lines up with me being way too busy. This year, however, I cleared my schedule and got ready to take part. And then got evicted, needed to find a new place to live, move, and then work got crazy busy for a while. But after that I was ready to join the jam with half my time already gone. The theme this year was, you work for a game dev studio and your boss is forcing you to make a game for his daughter's birthday based on her original world and characters. Which is pretty funny, because I actually do work for a game studio, and not too long ago had to make a game for my boss's daughter's birthday.
No, this can't be true. I work at a small game studio and a couple of months ago my boss actually had the team make his daughter a birthday game. That can't be true. This is all fiction. That can't be, please tell me that's not true.
Yes, as shockingly stupid as it sounds, it is indeed true, and so thanks to that I came prepared with plenty of practice and a desperate urge to work on something that doesn't make me want to die for a change. I wanted to push myself into trying something new and challenging, so I thought I'd take my first crack at making a top-down puzzle game. But the thing about puzzle games is they're normally pretty slow going. They require you to learn a whole bunch of mechanics and then master them enough that you can solve more and more elaborate puzzles. But one of the rules of this jam was that the game must be completable within 30 minutes. So that meant I had to keep stuff super simple and teach the player naturally as they're solving the puzzles. To accomplish this, I tried to use three main tricks. The first, giving your player a single input, the ability to take control of a ghost. And then depending on which kind of ghost you're controlling, that input changes, allowing you to interact in a whole bunch of ways, but all while using a single button. I could then introduce new ghosts with new abilities and eventually have areas that featured multiple types of ghosts, requiring the player to switch between them as needed. The second trick is that each of the ghosts you control is limited to a certain area. This, combined with some careful level design, allowed me to limit what the player has access to at any given time, which worked both to avoid overwhelming the player and also make progression visible but just out of reach at all times like a dangling carrot. The third trick was keeping things as simple as possible. My original plan for the game was to have it set in a tower that relied on a lot of verticality and the ghost's ability to fly. This all got flattened out to a super wide game that only used 2 layers at a time. The Red Ghost's original ability was to possess and control humans, letting you go 2 layers deep and giving them a whole new range of options. This got simplified into simply letting them kill humans, and the unique interactive objects in each area got switched out for familiar ones the player's already been introduced to and seen a bunch of times before. While this may seem like it's leading to a game that's less interesting, it actually made one that's way more fun. Players were no longer stuck in this weird vertical map trying to find the correct route to switch floors, and they were no longer just trying every single object in a scene until they got the correct solution. Instead, they could see the whole map clearly and had a full understanding of how everything inside of it worked. This would let them make smart decisions instead of spending time figuring out the rules. So, now that I had the core game design in place, I simply had to write a story that's equal parts dark and humorous, muddle the main character, edit her to make the rest of the cast as quickly as possible with varying results, create a bunch of animations, model up the scenery and props, realise I don't have enough time to make all the props so I'm just going to borrow some from the other game I'm working on, add sound effects and then do the music. Except, I have no idea how to make music. Luckily another person late to the game jam did. And so, Punk Rock Glock stepped up to the plate and casually whipped out all the music I'd need in no time at all like it was nothing. So in the end we made a game that Kyle broke twice on stream and then gave this glowing review of. So yeah, if you want to try it out for yourself, listen to Punk Rock Glock's music or see Kyle's playthrough of the game, it's all linked in the description. Enjoy.